On November 2nd, 2011, Russian police entered the home of a middle-aged man, a writer, and former university lecturer, still living with his parents. They uncovered one of the strangest and most disturbing crimes any of them could have ever imagined. Hidden inside the apartment were 26 life-size dolls, except they weren't dolls. They were preserved bodies of children, stolen from their graves by a man who saw himself not as a monster, but as their protector. This is the story of Anatoly Moskvin, Russia's infamous doll maker.
Hello, friends and family. Welcome back to another episode of Weekly Bazaar. I'm Montana.
I'm Jessica.
And if you're new here,
welcome.
We've been waiting for you.
Yes, we've been waiting. Where have you been? So how are you doing, Miss Montana? How are things in your world this week?
Still pregnant.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot the cat's out of the bag.
Still pregnant.
Yeah, it has been one heck of a week. I have to say a shout out and a congratulations to Star from Creepy Shit Podcast. And it's actually really inspiring because it just goes to show that dreams can come true, as cheesy as that sounds. But she just a few days ago hit 1,000 subscribers, and today she's over 60,000 subscribers, which I can't imagine how she must be feeling right now. I messaged her a couple times back and forth yesterday, and it was so cute. She's like, I'm just thinking, I hope I don't mess this up. Like, you got this, girl. You got this. So yes,
we could be at 1 million followers and still mess things up. So yeah. I wouldn't stress about that.
Yeah. So yeah, that was super cool to see this week. It's inspiring. It's like, okay, you put in the work and like it just takes one thing to hit, you know?
Maybe she'll go to Disney where dreams come true. Because you said that. Oh, I can't stop looking at the ball of light in your background.
Yeah, that didn't go as planned. So Montana got me this little, if you're on YouTube, it's behind me, but it just looks like a glowing blob, but it actually does, like a little mushroom terrarium kind of thing with fairy lights inside, and it just looks like an orb.
It does, a fairy. It's like probably Tinkerbell's little home.
It's probably really distracting too for people on YouTube. Sorry about that. We have shitty cameras. We get like 15 views if we're lucky on YouTube. So. I mean, we'll make a deal. When we hit 100 views per video, we'll do something about it.
Oh, that one made me cry. That's funny.
Yeah. We're laughing on the outside, but crying on the inside. Ugh.
I know. I would love to invest in a new computer right now, but yeah, I'm about to have a baby, so
you got other things to invest in.
Yeah, unfortunately. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. I've been nose to the grindstone with this podcast lately. Like, I've been doing a lot of shit behind the scenes, and it's my happy place. I love just diving into all the artistic stuff. It makes my heart and my brain so happy.
I'm so excited when we get to debut our new podcast photo.
Yeah, I've been working on our new photo, our new and improved, more mature, we'll say. It's the next phase for us. We're just kind of rebranding a little bit again, fresh starts, and it looks awesome, if I must say so myself. Yeah, it looks really cool. So cannot wait to show you guys that one.
Oh, me neither.
Yeah. So this story today is a doozy, man. I'm bringing the doozies lately.
I've never heard of it. And what's so weird, right? Because you told me a little bit, just like basically what you just said in the intro.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I know, and I don't like to look things up.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like this week has been very political based on everything that's been going on.
Yes.
And we don't do politics on the show. Like, no matter what our opinion is, we're not here for politics. We're never going to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, you know what? I'm actually looking forward to this podcast episode of this man who murders these people, like, just to escape the political world of, like, the news. It's just,
Well,
it's heavy.
he doesn't
I'd rather have
murder.
this type of heavy.
He doesn't murder.
Okay, see, I know nothing about
he
it.
grave robs.
Okay, that's a little bit better. A little bit better.
But yeah,
does that make sense? It's just like a nice escape into the true crime world of a podcast rather than what's going on in the outside world of things that just, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like I'm excited for today's episode.
Good. It's not as deep of a dive as I probably could have done with it, but a lot of the information was a little redundant and some of it just wasn't really necessary. And I do kind of skim over kind of what led him to where he ends up with all of this. And this is actually another one of those kind of controversial cases where there's a side of people who really empathize and feel sorry for him, and then others that clearly don't. But
is it because he was lonely that he had to turn to grave robbing?
It's recipe for disaster. I mean, he didn't stand a chance with the things that he went through as a child. So that's where the compassion comes in. You know, like kind of with the Eileen Wuornos thing, like circumstances of her childhood could have influenced the decisions she made. And this is very evidently so in this case. I mean, it's undeniably so.
And he doesn't kill anybody?
No, he does not. And actually, we'll get into it. I'm already getting ahead of myself like I always do, but he explains himself. So it's an interesting one. So if you're ready, I can continue on.
I just said I'm ready. Okay.
Okay. So where I left off in the intro, the police have found him in his flat, his parents' flat, which he still lived with his parents at this time. And I believe he was 45 years old when he was finally arrested. And later, like I kind of loop back to his childhood and then go all the way to the end. And I couldn't see a definitive like path to his arrest. Like, I don't know exactly how he was found out. And like, there are conflicting things. Like, one said it just kind of ended up leading them to knock at his door and to question him about these graves being disrupted because it had been going on. I mean, this was over the course of like 10 years that he was doing this. So
it's not like a linear path of how he got caught?
I couldn't find anything. It was either that, like, I went on a news website and they even were conflicted and they said that was a possibility. And then it was also reports that they actually caught him in the act at the cemetery carrying a bag of bones. So I'm not sure. If you know, email me at weeklybazarpodcast@gmail.com. Please and thank you. All right. So at first glance, the dolls looked homemade, constructed from paper mache. They were dressed in women's clothing, with some decorated in makeup. A few had buttons sewn into their faces for eyes, while others had faces drawn on or stitched from stuffed animals. It's disturbing.
Are there pictures?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Oh, boy.
Yep.
What year what's the time frame? Like, what year is this?
2011 is when they...
This is recent.
Yeah. Relatively
recent.
I
was thinking this was like back in the okay.
No.
Ugh. That's even. Ugh. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then some contained music boxes or toys hidden in their chests, designed to play jingles when they moved. Some even had small holes drilled beneath the eyes. And for the longest time when I was doing my research, I didn't know why that was. And then I stumbled upon why that was. And it's basically he would spend time with these dolls and watch like children's cartoons and things. So he drilled the holes so that they could see through.
That's really just. You're a disturbed person.
Yeah.
Could you imagine though if it was haunted and they jingle every time they move and they just jingle on their own?
Oh my
That's
gosh.
creepy.
Yeah. There are so many aspects to this case that just blow my mind. Like how he was able to do this for such a long time, especially this was in his parents' home that he was doing this. So it's
I
crazy.
already forgot about that.
Yeah.
Were his parents like handicapped? Where
No. They
okay.
no. We'll get there.
I know I always get ahead of you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So what police soon discovered was far more disturbing, which we already know. Each of these dolls contained the mummified remains of a young girl. And I guess they ranged from like very young girls to maybe like young adult girls. In total, 26 corpses had been exhumed and preserved in Moskvin's apartment. The shocking discovery revealed one of the most bizarre and unsettling crimes in modern Russian history and anywhere that I've ever heard. Like, I've never heard of anything like this before.
Did he sleep with them?
Like, sexually?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No. You're getting ahead again.
I know. It's because I try to analyze and make sense, and I just can never do it for obvious reasons.
We'll get to all of that, I promise. So the case, which would later be referred to in the media as that of the puppeteer, was unlike any other. There were elements of obsession, ritual, folklore, and trauma, a disturbing narrative of a man who refused to let the dead rest. But to understand how Moskvin reached this point, we must, as always, go back to his early life. So he was born September 1st, 1996 in Nizhny Novgorod. Probably didn't say that right. I'm sorry.
Oh my God, we're older than this guy?
1966.
Oh, they said 1996.
No, 1966. He was 45 when he was arrested in 2011, I believe, somewhere around there.
Okay.
In the ballpark of 45. So Anatoly was the only child of Yuri and Elvira Moskvin. Cool names for parents. From an early age, he displayed extraordinary intelligence. Teachers and peers described him as a gifted student, particularly in linguistics and history. He eventually mastered more than a dozen languages, some self-taught before he ever became a teenager. Before he even became a teenager. But alongside his academic brilliance, Anatoly struggled socially. He was reclusive, found it difficult to connect with other children, and was often the target of bullying. Isolated and lonely, he turned inward, dedicating himself entirely to study and literature. He spent what little money he had on books, immersing himself in knowledge while avoiding the social world around him. And from what I could gather, he was perfectly content in doing this and living this way. Like that was his happy place, going inward, learning languages, just studying, just learning as much as he possibly could.
So he's
made him very
smart.
happy. Very, very smart. I mean, to teach yourself languages at that age, from just reading, it's crazy. This combination of brilliance and detachment would shape Moskvin's life. While his intelligence earned him respect in academic circles, his inability to form normal social bonds and the traumatic events of his childhood would cast long shadows over his future. When Anatoly was still in elementary school, he returned home one afternoon covered in bruises. He explained that he had been attacked on his way back from class by an older man. What he didn't admit at the time was that the assault had been sexual in nature. Deeply traumatized, Anatoly kept this secret buried for decades, only confessing it much later in life when he was already in his 50s. But this was only the beginning of a series of disturbing events that scarred his childhood. At the age of 13, he would be drawn into an incident so bizarre that it seemed to set the course for his later obsessions and crimes. And this is like one of the most disturbing things I have ever heard.
Seriously?
I mean, for people to do to a child, like it's just I don't understand it. I don't get it.
Well, what already happened to him is so brutal. This kid is just minding his own business, putting his nose in academics, and something like that horribly happens to him. That's not okay.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure we'll get into it. I'm getting ahead of myself again. So on March 4th of 1979, Anatoly's class was participating in a Soviet government recycling drive. At the time, schools across the country competed with one another to collect the largest quantity of recyclable material, especially paper. Winning schools earned prestige and sometimes material rewards, so children were encouraged to scour neighborhoods and villages, knocking on doors, searching yards, and collecting whatever they could find. During the outing, Anatoly drifted away from his classmates and wandered into a part of town he didn't recognize. He came across a house with its front gate open, and thinking he might find discarded newspapers inside, stepped into the yard. Instead, he stumbled into a scene that must have felt like something out of a nightmare for such a young boy. In the yard stood around a dozen adults. Various accounts put the number at 12 or 13. They were dressed in long black cloaks and holding candles. At the center of the gathering was an open coffin. Even from a distance, Anatoly could see the small size. This was a child's coffin. Overcome with fear, Anatoly turned and tried to flee. But before he could escape, one of the adults grabbed him by the shoulder and forced him back toward the group. Brought to the coffin, he was made to look inside. There, laid before him, was the body of 11-year-old Natasha Petrova, a local girl who had died after being accidentally electrocuted while bathing at home. Although Anatoly had never met Natasha while she was alive, she would soon become a haunting presence in his life. The mourners,
see why.
Yeah, my leg's asleep. The mourners then did something shocking. They demanded that he kiss the corpse. Terrified, Anatoly refused. He cried and begged to be let go, but his pleas were ignored. Natasha's mother tried coaxing him, offering him sweets and money if he would comply, but he still shook his head and resisted. Finally, the adults took control, pushing his head down until his lips touched the cold, waxy skin of Natasha's forehead.
Why?
He was forced to kiss her not once, but several times, while the cloaked figures around him chanted hymns in a language he didn't understand, which I'm surprised because I thought he knew so many languages. But I kind of looked into this a little bit, and I guess it's a tradition, like to kiss a corpse 3 times or something like that before you send them off onto their journey to the next life or something like that. But
yeah, but he didn't even know her.
But it's not supposed to be forced. Exactly. Like, it's something you do to like a loved one, probably somebody you know. But yeah, just like, what the hell is going on here? As disturbing as this was. Yes?
I was just going to say, this is why we have consent. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. Wetting that whistle. Okay.
That's what she said.
As disturbing as this was, the ritual wasn't finished. After the forced kisses, Natasha's mother produced 2 small brass rings. One was placed on her daughter's finger inside the coffin, while the other was handed to Anatoly. He was instructed to slip it onto his own finger. In that moment, the adults announced that the 2 children had been symbolically married. Yeah.
What?
A macabre wedding ceremony between a living boy and a dead girl. What is happening? I don't know.
So I'm going to guess if he probably never walked into that scene that day, he probably would have had a normal life.
Relatively, yeah. I mean, I feel like he probably would have kept his nose in the books and maybe never had an interest in sexual relations because of what happened to him as a child with the man. But yeah, this was like, I mean, the writing's on the wall why he ended up doing the things he did. Like, how damaging could that have been to a young boy like this?
Well, children are so impressionable, so it's yeah, that's going to mess him up the rest of his life.
Yeah.
What is wrong with these people?
I don't know. And to seal this ritual, Anatoly was given gifts, fruit, sweets, and some money. So it's like after you did this weird thing, you're positively reinforced. Good job. Like what a mind fuck. I'm sorry.
But it's like they're making him marry a corpse. Like they see it as like this I won't even say it's a ritual. It's like a ceremony.
I'm pretty sure that to them, this was saving her soul.
She's 11.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. So she was 11 years old?
11, yes.
Children have the most innocent souls. I don't understand. What do you need to save her from?
I don't know. Sounds to me like she was saved just getting away from that family. Bunch of freaks.
Oh.
Okay, so yes, he was given fruits, sweets, and money. He was then told in no uncertain terms that he must not speak of what had happened to anyone for 40 days. This 40-day rule mirrored traditional Orthodox mourning practices, in which the soul's journey after death is believed to last 40 days. Finally, he was released and allowed to leave. Shaken, he walked home carrying the gifts, unable to fully comprehend what had just happened. That night, when he finally slept, he dreamt of Natasha, and the nightmares continued for years afterward.
Don't say.
Yeah. This single event would linger in Anatoly's psyche, intertwining death, ritual, and intimacy in a way that blurred boundaries for him permanently. Whether the adults genuinely believed they were protecting Natasha's soul through an obscure folk custom, or whether it was something stranger, the experience left Anatoly convinced he had been spiritually bound to the dead girl. Later in life, he would describe this wedding as one of the defining moments that shaped his fixation with the dead, a fixation that grew darker with age and ultimately culminated in his crimes decades later. That incident alone could be enough to explain Anatoly's later obsession with death, burial rituals, and the afterlife, but it's what happened in the days following that encounter which truly cemented the dark road that he was destined to travel. A few nights later, Anatoly claimed that Natasha began to visit him in his dreams. At first, it seemed like the natural response of a child's subconscious trying to process something terrifying and confusing. Many psychologists would argue that what Anatoly described were manifestations of trauma replaying in his mind, but in his telling, these dreams were far from ordinary. Natasha's spirit, he said, did not merely appear, she spoke. In these nocturnal encounters, she would tell Anatoly that she wanted to teach him the secrets of black magic. At only 13 years old, he had very little knowledge of the occult, but the idea that a dead child his supposed bride, was insisting he learn its rituals both disturbed and intrigued him. Still, his initial response was to refuse her. He was terrified of her presence and unsettled by her demands. But allegedly, Natasha was persistent. Night after night, she returned, repeating the same offer. She would share her knowledge of the dark arts, and it was important that Anatoly learn. Yet this was not her only request. She also demanded that he return regularly to the village where their strange wedding had taken place. If he complied with these visits, she promised that she would leave him in peace, but if he neglected to keep up his visits, she would return to torment him in his dreams. So I think about this and like the damage that has been done to his psyche and why he's probably conjuring up these, like, if you do this, you get this, or like he's basically creating both sides of the scenario in his broken mind. It's very sad. He's like bargaining with himself, essentially. So sad.
Here's the downfall.
Yeah. Anatoly became so unsettled by these nightly visions that he confided in his parents. They understandably had no idea how to interpret his stories. To them, it seemed like the confused imaginings of a child entering puberty mixed with an overactive imagination. And I'm pretty sure that he did not tell them about this incident, about the funeral and the wedding. So they have no idea. They just think that, I mean, he's always been a peculiar kid. And the theme of that throughout this whole story is like they pass everything off as he's just another one of his quirks. Another one of his quirks. It's crazy.
That's a little more than a quirk.
Yeah. But they did take him to see a doctor, and the physician concluded that the boy's dreams were likely stress-related fantasies, nothing more than the natural growing pains of adolescence. He prescribed Anatoly a sedative meant to calm his mind and help him sleep more soundly. The end. That's all. That's all you get.
Let's just drug them, and drugs fix everything. They'll numb.
Yeah.
They'll numb your feelings.
But obviously the medication didn't help. Natasha continued to appear. The visits became something Anatoly dreaded. He hated her presence, and he loathed the way she pressured him to engage with magic. She frightened him, but she was also inescapable. And eventually, the girl's spirit made him a proposition. If he performed one simple ritual for her, she would finally leave him alone.
Dun, dun, dun.
Desperate for relief, Anatoly agreed. But the ritual was far from simple. Natasha demanded that he obtain one of his classmates' teeth, a disturbing task for any child, let alone one already terrified by his own dreams. Despite the difficulty and the moral conflict, Anatoly managed to carry it out, and I could not find out how anywhere. I don't know what he did to do this. No idea.
What would have he done?
I don't know. Unless, I don't know, like maybe a kid, I mean, at that time, kids were losing lots of teeth. Like maybe he asked somebody for one. I don't know. Shoot, for all we know, it could have been his own tooth, you know, like in his mind, like he's bargaining with himself. I don't know. But I couldn't find anything on that.
Okay.
So yeah,
the tooth.
Somehow he managed to get the tooth and perform the ritual exactly as she had instructed, which was to put it under his pillow. So again,
like
if you think about it, yeah, like his little mind is just so, it's just so messed up and mixed up. When it was completed, the dream stopped. True to her word, Natasha disappeared from his nights, no longer whispering about black magic or pulling him back toward the graveyard where their marriage had taken place. The experience, however, had left a deep mark on him. Even though she no longer haunted his dreams, Anatoly made a point of visiting Natasha's gravesite once a year. Perhaps in his mind, these pilgrimages were a way of keeping her spirit appeased, or perhaps they were his attempt to honor the strange bond that had been forced upon him as a boy. So damaging.
Ugh.
So damaging.
Ugh.
And he's essentially trying to sort this out on his own as a child. And I think this is the only way he knew how, was conjuring up these deals with himself, with Natasha.
Well, it's not like he can turn to anybody. It just feels like no one's a safe place for him, not even his parents.
Yeah, I don't know the full story of his parents, but man, they don't seem with it at all to me. Like they don't give two shits. And he was an only child, and they traveled a lot, and it's like he's an afterthought or something. I don't know.
Well, it's also hard that your child is struggling and you're not really doing anything about it. You take him to a doctor and say, well, you're going to get over it. You're just a child. You're going through what children do, and we're just going to numb it with medication.
Yeah. Very sad. Very sad circumstances here.
And the medication is just to help him sleep. It's not even to help with this like psychological problems he was having.
All right, so flashing forward a bit, when Anatoly enrolled at Moscow State University, he pursued Celtic studies, earning a degree in a field that allowed him to explore ancient traditions. He became particularly fascinated with the Celtic rituals surrounding death, burial practices, and the transition into the afterlife. For Anatoly, this wasn't merely academic curiosity. It was an extension of his personal experiences with death, trauma, and the mysterious presence of Natasha that had haunted him since he was a child. He wasn't just reading about mythology, he was searching for answers, frameworks, and rituals that might help him make sense of what he had endured. Despite his reputation as a recluse, Anatoly found companionship among a small circle of like-minded individuals at the university. And I think this is like the first time he was ever part of a group of people in his life, or like a community of people, which is just, I mean, it's one thing after another. He joined a Luciferian order, a group whose teachings center on the left-handed path, self-deification, and ritual magic. So basically, they're Satanists.
Okay, I was going to ask, is this not a good group that he's involved in finally?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
But I mean, it's where he feels accepted for the first time in his life, really. This affiliation solidified his immersion in the occult. Unlike the academic detachment of his Celtic studies, Anatoly wasn't just learning about rituals, he was actually practicing them now. He was deeply committed, taking a vow of celibacy, which aligned both with the group's principles and with his own apparent disinterest in sexual relationships. It may have also been a lingering scar from his traumatic childhood experience that made intimacy something that he had no desire to pursue. During this time, Anatoly confessed to his fellow practitioners about the childhood wedding ritual he had endured and the spectral visits from Natasha. Far from dismissing him as delusional, they were actually intrigued. To them, Anatoly's story was evidence of genuine contact with the spirit world, and they were eager to teach him. This validation may have been the push Anatoly needed to embrace the occult fully. He later admitted that he regretted turning down Natasha's offers to teach him black magic when she appeared to him in his dreams, something he now interpreted not as hallucinations, but as a missed spiritual opportunity.
Probably from what his colleagues have said.
Yeah. His colleagues. It was during these university years that Anatoly began physically experimenting with the dead.
There it is.
Though not yet in ways that would later shock the world. At first, his rituals involved the bodies of animals, which he incorporated into magical workings. But they were already dead. Like anything he worked with was already dead. This was common in some lesser-known traditions, but for Anatoly, it was also an escalation. The leap from theory to practice, from studying the dead to handling them, would become the turning point in his descent. Well, one of the many turning points. It could just turn after turn. After graduating, Anatoly briefly worked as a lecturer at the university. He was intelligent, knowledgeable, and eccentric. His colleagues, however, found him difficult to work with, describing him as stubborn and peculiar. It wasn't long before he was pushed out of academia. To Anatoly, this was less a setback and more an opportunity. Free from institutional constraints, he could now dedicate himself to his true passions: writing, researching local folklore, and of course, his ever deepening exploration of cemeteries.
Oh boy.
Yeah. He embarked on an ambitious project with a fellow academic to document the stories of forgotten local histories, many of which were scattered, incomplete, or lost entirely due to the disorder of the Soviet record keeping. To uncover these stories, Anatoly turned to the cemeteries. For him, graveyards weren't simply resting places. They were vast archives, physical records of lives, deaths, and the collective memory of a community. Anatoly himself admitted that he felt, quote, drawn to them like a magnet, unquote. To sustain himself during this lengthy project, Anatoly relied on his remarkable gift for languages. By this point, he spoke 13 fluently and supported himself by working as a language tutor. He especially enjoyed teaching children, and according to his mother, he had an uncanny ability to communicate with them. These moments, surrounded by young students, immersed in teaching, seemed to be the happiest he'd ever appeared to outsiders. At the same time, he published numerous articles in newspapers and journals, often focused on his travels and his research into folklore. Why I said that like that. Often focused on his travels and his research into folklore. Ironically, it was this very writing that would later contribute to his downfall. Over time, Anatoly became a true authority on cemeteries. He claimed to have visited over 752 burial grounds in just 3 years, amassing what was essentially an encyclopedic knowledge of the dead. He could recall names, birth and death dates, and even the circumstances surrounding countless burials. But this obsessive project came at a steep personal cost. This is crazy to me. He did this all on foot for some reason. I don't know why. But he traveled on foot, trekking mile after mile between graveyards. I wonder if it's just because he didn't have any money, because he was literally just floating around doing research.
And that's a lot. You said 750 cemeteries?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it did not sound like a good time. The strain left him physically exhausted and weakened. He often went without proper food or shelter, sometimes drinking from puddles and sleeping wherever he could find space.
That sounds like horrible existence.
Yeah. Yeah, I think at this point it's safe to say he was, not in his right mind. He really wasn't for a long time before too, but I think it just keeps spiraling.
Well, it's almost like an escape. He doesn't have to face real world stuff if he's escaping into this. I don't even know what to call it.
I think he's got it in his mind that he's more comfortable around the dead than the living.
That's very true.
It's delusion. Whether by chance or deliberate intent, Anatoly's chosen sleeping spots were almost always within the cemeteries themselves. In one incident, which...
Pass.
Crazy. He was discovered by a group of drunken gravediggers asleep inside a coffin that was scheduled for burial, just like me.
I know, you're like, I look so pale today. I love it.
On more than one occasion, he was attacked or robbed while wandering around graveyards late at night. Yet even these dangers didn't deter him from his peculiar devotion. This just does not sound like a good time.
What did he even have that they wanted?
Exactly.
Like, what?
Exactly. Like
You
his
think if he had
peanuts?
money, yeah, you think if he had money, he wouldn't be walking everywhere?
Exactly.
Sleeping in graveyards?
Yeah, who
Like, don't get me
knows?
wrong. I love cemeteries and I love walking through cemeteries and I love reading the tombstones, but you'll never catch me sleeping in a cemetery.
Mm-mm. Nope. Even when I'm dead, I'm not going to be in a cemetery sleeping.
It's just like once it gets dark, it changes the vibe of a cemetery.
It does.
Like it goes from peaceful to a spooky vibe that makes me personally very uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So sleeping in one, pass.
Yeah. Unless it's a nap during the day, maybe, but I feel like that's a little bit disrespectful. I don't know that you
I
should be
was just
doing that.
about to say that. I don't.
Yeah.
It bothers me, and I've said this multiple times when people run through cemeteries. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
there's something about that that takes away the peacefulness.
Yeah.
And the people that just let their dogs roam through the cemeteries and pee on graves. We've been on this rant before,
We
but
have.
stop doing it.
If you're new here, stop letting your dog pee on the gravestone.
It's disrespectful.
Yeah. All right. So, what emerged during this period, however, was more disturbing behavior, one that hinted at the darker compulsions brewing and brewing and brewing.
So like
Through
a volcano about to. It's like a volcano about to erupt.
absolutely. Yeah. Through his research into folklore, Anatoly had learned of old traditions in which people would sleep on graves to absorb spiritual knowledge, power, or communion with the dead. So it's just like stepping stones. Like you just closer and closer and closer to what he eventually does. Like
People actually do this.
first it was learning about the dead, then it was obsessing over their, like, how did they die, how did they live, then it progressed into sleeping in the graveyards, and now it's progressed to sleeping on the actual graves. So he took this practice to heart, and he began deliberately sleeping on the graves of the young girls. Whether this was an attempt to feel closer to them or something darker remains uncertain. But for Anatoly, these acts were more than rest, they were communion. He was no longer just studying the dead, he was building a relationship with them. And it was only a matter of time before this relationship crossed into truly horrifying territory.
Clearly.
Anatoly's obsession with the dead took an even darker turn when he, if it's even possible,
I was about to say it gets darker and darker and darker.
he began claiming that the children whose graves he slept upon would start speaking to him. So it's just like Natasha. These spirits, too, came to him during the night. Anatoly insisted that they were not hallucinations, but real encounters. He believed the children reached out to him because they liked him, and he only chose to sleep on the graves of those he felt a connection with. Using his extensive knowledge of local history, he would ask the children questions about their lives, testing them. This was his way of determining whether these entities were truly the spirits of the dead, or his occult studies had warned him demons disguising themselves as children to trick him. To Anatoly, these interactions were proof of his special bond with the dead, evidence that he had been chosen for a higher purpose. So can you imagine all this going on in his mind? Oh my
I do not want
gosh.
to be in his mind.
Oof.
That's a dark, weird place. I do not want to be.
No. So around 2003, at 37 years old, Anatoly's yearning for companionship took on a more tangible form. He entered into what he later described as a spiritual, but not sexual, relationship with a woman named Julia Granova. And I don't know a whole lot about Julia, but she was perfectly content with not having a sexual relationship. And I believe that their like spirituality was quite different, but it seemed like Anatoly liked that because he liked to debate with people. So they just kind of had an understanding of each other and on another level, I guess.
And they're both asexual, is what it sounds like.
Mm-hmm. Both of them wanted children, and Anatoly had become increasingly fixated on the idea of fatherhood, particularly the dream of having a little girl, obviously. However, because of his vow of celibacy, physical intimacy was off the table, and adoption seemed the only path forward. The couple applied to adopt a young girl, but almost immediately faced obstacles. Anatoly still lived with his parents, and they opposed the plan. His erratic income as a freelance tutor and writer meant he could not afford to live independently, and his mother and father did not want the added burden of a child in the cramped flat. The adoption agency shared these concerns. Anatoly's unstable finances and living situation meant his application was denied, and the girlfriend lived there with them too, in the flat, just to be clear.
Okay, this is where I'm going to agree with the parents, where they're like, you probably should get your shit together. Like, he's the same age as me at this point. We're living two different lives.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think he had it in him to get his shit together at this point.
It sounds like he's not even working. He's just walking to cemeteries. Like, that's how he spends his days.
Yeah, he needed help desperately. Anatoly's unstable finances and living situation meant his application was denied. The rejection devastated him. His relationship fell apart shortly afterward, and with it, one of his few chances at building a semblance of a normal family life. Never gonna happen, I'm afraid.
It's probably for the best.
Yeah. Already fragile, Anatoly's grip on reality seemed to fracture further. Around this time, in a moment of bitterness and anger, he confessed to his mother that he had been practicing black magic. I'm drinking poison per Montana's request because she has a death wish for me.
Okay. If you're listening, that's not true.
She got me a little, I think these are called beakers, little potion beaker thing that says poison on it. And she's like, if I get this for you, will you drink it on the podcast? Like, hey, sure.
Okay, that's better, because if you really die from arsenic one day, they're going to come after me.
Be warned.
I got myself a bigger one, like a more round one that I'm going to drink for my baby shower, because we're doing a Halloween themed baby shower.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to walk around with that because I'm cool like that.
That'll be cute. Are you going to be a witch?
Yeah, well, I guess, yeah, I'm going to get like a black dress. I'm going to find a black dress to wear. It's not like you feel amazing when feel like a pumpkin.
Yeah. I'm surprised you weren't going to be a pumpkin.
Might as well be. It fits.
Okay, back to good old Elvira, who just keeps passing this shit off as, it's fine. He's fine. Elvira brushed it off as little more than another odd phase. But for Anatoly, the rejection of the adoption and his parents' dismissal marked yet again another turning point, which really, this was the icing on the cake point. Because, I mean, at this point, he desperately wanted to have a child, a little girl in his life. And I truly believe that none of this was sexual in nature. Like, I truly believe it was this fixation on just wanting to protect little girls from what he saw.
I'm not getting a sexual vibe.
Mm-mm. Unable to build a family in the conventional sense, Anatoly turned to the only world that had never rejected him. The cemeteries.
The afterlife.
The afterlife. So sad. Returning to his spiritual home, as he often called them. Sad. He began the practice that would eventually shock the world. He dug up the body of a young girl. To Anatoly, this was not an act of desecration, but of restoration. If he couldn't have a living child, he reasoned he would give someone else's child a second chance. Quote unquote, second chance. Armed with the necromantic lore he had accumulated and practical knowledge of mummification, Anatoly carefully dried out and preserved the girl's body. He then brought her back to the apartment he still shared with his unsuspecting parents. There, he encased her remains within a crude homemade shell, decorating her with clothing scavenged from trash cans and dumpsters. He called this his attempt to bring the child back to life. But unsurprisingly, his magical workings failed. But Anatoly wasn't discouraged. He wasn't a man who rejected science. In fact, he firmly believed that one day science would conquer death. If necromancy and ritual could not revive these children, perhaps cloning or genetic engineering would. He became convinced that by preserving their remains, he was preparing them for a future in which they could be reanimated, reborn, and finally live the lives that had been stolen from them. Dark.
That's really dark.
Dark, dark things are happening.
So he's playing God.
Pretty much, yeah. Yep.
Got it.
I mean, it kind of like it's just a recipe for disaster, perfect storm, whatever you want to call it. Because like what happened to him, and then the path that took him on with Satanism. I mean, that's essentially what they think of themselves, you know. Like, so yeah, he's absolutely playing God and believes that he can do these things.
And I don't know if that's more dark. In his mind, he thinks what he's doing is good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, it sounds like he literally believes he's giving them a second chance at life.
Yes. And if he can't do it right now, he's going to ensure that it happens eventually. Crazy, 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 crazy.
Welcome to the world of AI.
Yeah. So this twisted mission meant he could not stop at just one child. Anatoly needed more, and so began his collection. By 2009, local authorities were receiving mounting complaints of disturbed graves through Nizhny Novgorod. I have such a hard time saying that. And its surrounding areas. Investigators were baffled. Coffins were found broken into, bodies tampered with, and in some cases, stolen entirely. Yet no clear suspect emerged, and the trail went cold again and again. Meanwhile, Anatoly's secret family was growing. And some of the research I was doing on this, like apparently at this time in Russia, there were a lot of hate crimes against Muslims going on, and desecrating Muslim graves was one of those things that was happening. So I think in all of that is probably why it was harder for them to figure out that it was him, at least at first.
Mm-hmm.
Because even once they catch him, they think that was his motive. But it was not, clearly. So yeah, there was a lot of the political environment at this time in Russia was not great. So
he got thrown into the mix.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Each time he exhumed a child, he would preserve the remains, clothe them, and then transform them into what he called dolls. And he also calls them his children. He stitched together their masks, sewed buttons over their eyes, applied makeup to their faces, and even embedded music boxes, like I said, in their hollow chests so that they would play lullabies when touched. These grotesque creations were his companions, his daughters, his living household.
That have to smell so bad.
We're gonna get there. And again, it's another one of those things like, what the hell were his parents doing?
Well, wasn't his wife or girlfriend, asexual partner, wasn't she there too?
Their relationship fell apart after the
The adoption
adoption
didn't go through?
didn't go
Okay.
through. Yeah, so she left.
Okay.
So incredibly, no one in his immediate circle raised alarm. Somehow, for some reason.
It's like, this is how blind his parents are.
Yeah. Yeah. Nose blind, too, apparently. I mean, I guess that could happen. Like, if from the first one, like, you probably get used to it. I don't know, though, because when you leave your house and you come back and you forgot to take out the trash or something,
Like, once you
frickin'
walk in,
stinks.
yeah.
It's nasty, let alone 26 bodies.
And
I mean,
people, like, that say they've smelled a dead body,
mm-hmm,
they will never forget that smell because
mm-hmm.
it's a very distinct smell. So I just don't know how that, even the first body, they would be like, what is that smell?
Yeah, I mean, granted, he embalmed them or whatever, but how well did he actually do
Even the
that?
embalming, though, would still have a smell.
Yeah. Yeah. His parents, with whom he still lived, dismissed the ever-growing number of life-size figures cluttering the small apartment as nothing more than their son's strange hobby. When his
Oh my
mother
God.
occasionally caught him talking to the dolls, she would scold him and call him childish. When friends visited, the Moskvin family explained away the figures as part of Anatoly's eccentric art project. Like, really?
So his parents truly believe that these were just dolls.
Yeah. Yeah.
I literally
His
don't know what to say to
eccentric
that.
art project. Because he's such an eccentric guy.
They just rub so much shit under the rug
Yeah.
and be like, that's just him.
I feel like they just don't care. That has to be the only reason. Like, there's like, yeah, whatever. I don't want to deal with it. I don't deal with his shit anymore. Neighbors, meanwhile, complained of a putrid stench emanating from the apartment. The smell of decay was unmistakable, but residents chalked it up to faulty plumbing or drainage problems in the aging building. I'm like, can you not put two and two together here? I
But
don't
it's the
understand.
neighbors that complain, not the parents. I
Yeah.
don't get it.
Yeah.
Because if the neighbors can smell it, you know that. What? Like, I don't get it.
Even more shockingly,
Oh God.
this one really got me. Like, what the fuck, people? Come on. Anatoly once went so far as to seat one of his dolls at the family dinner table when his aunt visited. To her and to everyone else, it was simply passed off as another one of Anatoly's bizarre quirks. Weekly bizarre quirks.
I mean, if I was the aunt, I'd be like, "You're 40. What are you doing with your life? What is this?"
Yeah. Yeah, what is going on? I'd be looking at his parents too and being like, why is this happening in your house? Like, what is happening here?
I feel like if that was Dominic, you'd be like, "Hold on a minute."
Yeah. The first doll, I'd be like, oh no, we're not doing this. Nope. Nope. The only one that can scare other people with dolls is me. Thank you.
Be like, "Sweetie, let's sit down. Let's have a conversation. What's going on? What trauma are you experiencing?
Yeah.
Talk to me.
Yeah, let's nip this in the bud right now.
Let's talk about it. Let's express our feelings."
Surrounded by the smell of death, his oblivious parents, and neighbors who overlooked every red flag, Anatoly Moskvin had quietly created a house of the dead, hiding it in plain sight. Literally. As his parents left the city for long periods each summer, Anatoly treated the apartment as a private, almost ritual space where he could live unobserved with his children. He learned the names, dates, and backstories of many of the dead he handled, Birthdays, ages, and the circumstances of death were cataloged and memorized, as if for a family album. Moskvin divided the figures he kept by preference. His favorites stayed in his bedroom. Others were stored elsewhere, including the garage, and he performed many of the small routines one would associate with parenting. He fed them symbolically, whatever that means. That's all I could find. He fed them symbolically. So
Here
he's
comes
probably
the
just,
airplane.
yeah, just
Open up
pretending.
wide.
Yep. Marked birthdays and holidays, watched cartoons with them, sang to them, and by his own account, tried to keep their surroundings tidy and respected. Moskvin insisted he never dismembered the bodies. Instead, he said he treated the remains gently and tried to preserve what he could. And he explicitly denied a sexual motive. Instead, he framed his behavior as a mixture of necromantic belief, wanting to be a father, and scholarly curiosity about death and burial rituals. So yeah, no sexual motive.
Yikes.
Just wanted to be a dad.
It's like 26 kids.
Well, I mean, in his mind, the more the better, because he was going to eventually save all these children and give them their lives back. So,
Were they all females?
yeah. All females, like I said, ranging from like very, very young to like young adult, I think, or maybe like late teens.
It also sounds like he has a very photogenic memory to like memorize everything about them, ages, birthdays, names.
I didn't think about that. Yeah. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He's absolutely brilliant. Brilliant mind, but broken mind.
Brilliant but disturbed mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he didn't really stand a chance between what happened and no help. And then positive reinforcement for all these darker aspects of his life, too. Like, it just recipe for disaster, like I keep saying. As the number of disturbed graves continued to grow, the trail eventually led police to Anatoly, which, again, like I said earlier, I don't exactly know how. Whether or not it was they found him in the act, or I even saw one article that said the parents are the ones that discovered them and eventually turned him in. But I only saw that in one place, and I don't think it was credible. So yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I wish I knew. I'm sorry, but I don't.
I know, but this is also not late 2000s, but like 2009, 2010, right? They have
11.
forensics.
2011.
Okay, they have DNA forensics they can do nowadays. So
yeah, how this, well, that's an ongoing debate to this day. People are like, how the hell did this go on so long?
because when you keep talking about the story, I keep thinking it's way back in the day where forensics weren't a thing.
Yeah.
And grave robbing was a thing more back in the day than it is today.
Yep. So on November 2nd, 2011, police entered the flat Moskvin shared with his parents and found the dozens of life-size dolls. Early reports cited 29 figures, while later official counts and reporting clarify the situation as 26 bodies in total, and with other objects from grave sites found in the home and in the garbage. Or in the garage, I'm sorry. So he was taking, did I write that? No, it's garage. Like parts of gravestones, things like that. He was also taking from the sites, parts of the coffin. Yeah, just full on obsessed.
Ugh.
And if you want to look it up, there actually are scenes caught on police video, surveillance video, like how they have to wear the camera on their chest when they're going into the apartment. It shows them looking around at like how the dolls are set up in the apartment and everything. It's creepy as
Oh
hell.
my gosh.
Yeah, creepy as hell. So they were like seated on sofas and shelves and beds, like laying around. Oh, just, and they all looked different. And one of them had like the face of a bear, like a stuffed animal bear face or something, like he'd sewn on. It's just so disturbing. So
Why am I
disturbing.
blaming his parents more? His parents need to go to jail right with him, I swear.
I agree. I completely agree with that.
Because they could have stopped it at one and be like, this isn't normal, this isn't right.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty sure that's a human body, and they could have saved 25 other graves.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
like, that's just our boy.
Yep. He'd just being his quirky little self, pat him on the head and move on. Head on out of the country for the summer. Bye. Moskvin
Jesus.
cooperated with investigators and explained his methods and motives at length. He admitted to exhuming and preserving the remains over many years and said he kept the figures because he loved the children and wanted to preserve them until a time when they could be revived. Initially, police investigated several angles, including whether some desecrations had targeted Muslim graves, but hate crime allegations were later dropped as the inquiry focused on the wider pattern of grave disturbances and the material found in Moskvin's apartment. After psychiatric evaluation, the courts concluded Moskvin suffered from a severe mental disorder. You think? In May 2012, the Leninsky District Court in Nizhny Novgorod found him unfit to stand trial and ordered compulsory psychiatric treatment rather than imprisonment. He was diagnosed with a form of paranoid schizophrenia and transferred to a secure psychiatric clinic for long-term care. The court rulings and routine reviews that followed meant his confinement had been subject to periodic judicial review. Hospital petitions and medical panels have, over the years, produced conflicting assessments about whether he remains dangerous and whether outpatient or less restrictive care is appropriate. But to this day, he still remains under strict medical supervision and possibly will for the rest of his life. And I don't know, like, what do you guys think? I think he should probably stay where he is because I think the damage has been done. And I don't know. I don't know how he could find his way back from that.
I don't think he's dangerous.
Yeah, I don't
I
either.
think that he does belong in a mental institution and does need to stay in a mental institution
Yeah.
because he's clearly disturbed.
Yeah, and I can't imagine. I mean, that's all he knows. I feel like he would, maybe for a time, he would not do that, but I feel like those compulsions would come back and he would just end up right back out there at some grave site. Just
And
doing
it
it
wasn't
all
like
over
he
again.
was even trying to evade the police. It sounds like he was just
Mm-hmm.
doing what he thought was normal.
Yeah. Yeah.
His normal. He truly believed he was helping these women, these children. And when he was questioned, it sounds like he's like, yeah, this is why I did it. I didn't, like, he didn't deny anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he didn't deny anything. And he even said that he tried his best to put the grave sites back the way that he found them so that it wouldn't upset the families. Like if they went and discovered that the grave had been tampered with or whatever. Like he didn't want to cause anybody any kind of distress. Like that was never his intention at all. It was in
Well, I
his
don't feel like he
mind.
has ill intent.
Not at all. Nope. Nope. In his broken mind, he was doing something good. So, yeah,
Well, I can
definitely
see
don't
why
think he's dangerous.
people feel sorry for him.
Mm-hmm. I feel
Maybe
sorry for him
dangerous to the
too.
dead.
Yeah. Dangerous to the grieving families, even though he doesn't intend to be. But it's still like unimaginable what they probably like going and visiting their loved ones at the grave sites and not realizing they're not even there. that had to be a lot for them to handle once they found out. And then to have to rebury them and do it all over again. I think it's got to be damaging for sure. Traumatizing all over again, like reliving the fact that you lost your child once and now you have to like go through the whole process again. So, but yeah, I don't think he meant to hurt anyone. I don't think he knew any better, unfortunately.
No, and what he's been through, he didn't kill anybody.
Yeah.
So at least he didn't take any lives.
True.
But I'm not that I'm saying what he did was okay, because it's far from okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think he's dangerous.
It kind of reminds me a little bit of Jeffrey Dahmer without the sexual aspect in it. Like how he just liked spending time with dead bodies. This kind of reminds me of that. And
but even Jeffrey Dahmer's worse than that.
Well, yeah.
Worse than him.
Yeah, I mean, he killed them, first of all. And it was sexual
Ate them.
for him.
He ate them.
And that too, yeah. But I don't know, I guess just the fascination, because I think there was an underlying mental disorder that Jeffrey Dahmer had where he was attracted to, or yeah, I think it was like attracted to certain textures or something like that, like shiny. I don't know, I guess like with the dead body, like with the skin when it hardens or whatever and becomes kind of shiny, how like it started with the mannequin because the mannequin was shiny. I don't know. I'm going off on a tangent here, but
it sounds like you said, he laid on the graves to absorb their power, basically be one. It's like Jeffrey Dahmer. That's why he ate them, right? Because they would always be with him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then when that wasn't enough for Anatoly, he literally brought them with him home. Like, it's not enough to just lay above you. You got to come with me. I'm going to save you. I'm going to protect you. So, yeah, very disturbing, very tragic.
This is definitely a nature versus nurture situation, and his parents he had no hope.
Yeah.
Science project. Jesus Lord.
Well, I would love to know what you guys think about this. Do you feel compassion for Anatoly? Do you see why he ended up going down this path? Do you blame his parents? Because I definitely think they played a huge part in this. I think they did him a huge disservice not getting him some help. And kind of the same thing happened with Jeffrey Dahmer too. Because it's not like they weren't telling their parents that they were doing these things or had these compulsions. They both did, and neither one of them got any help for it. So, yeah.
No, and if you're, I was going to say, if you're from Russia, then is that a normal thing that you guys do when someone dies?
Yeah.
Is that a normal custom? Like, where does it draw the line where it's not normal?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like the kissing 3 times or...
To me, that doesn't sound like a weird custom if that's what it is. Mm-hmm. But forcing a child to do it, he doesn't even walked into the wrong place at the wrong time. That's where we're like, okay, where do we hit the line of normalcy? And this is beyond normalcy.
Yeah. Yep. So there it is.
Let us know.
Anatoly. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I sure didn't. No. I always love diving into these things, but it doesn't make it any less disturbing. So you can find us on all the social medias at Weekly Bazaar Podcast. You can email us with stories of your own lives, stories you'd like us to cover that we've never heard of before. weeklybazaarpodcast@gmail.com. You can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/weeklybazaar, $5 a month. It really helps us to stay motivated and keep going with this and see the light at the end of the tunnel, and lets us know, yes, this is worth it. But at the same time, all of you coming back and watching us or listening to us every week is also very worth it. Our numbers are slowly creeping up on our social medias, so that's always nice to see too. And yeah, I think that's about all. So until next time, if it's weird,
we're gonna talk about it.
bye guys.
Bye.